I'm going to use this time to begin talking about the review of the game. So, generally, how 5 months later it's actually over. Oh my gosh, yeah, no kidding. I'll talk a bit about the game length in a bit. So, after every game, I usually do a bit of a review since it's fresh in my mind, and I try to like talk about what I thought about the game. And so I'm just going to be talking like through what I thought or like how I felt about how the game was made, or like how my experiences with the game. And yeah, I guess we can get started. So generally we do it in, I usually try to divide with RPGs in particular. I try to divide it into 4 aspects. So I usually go with story first, talk about graphics, sound, and then gameplay. So I've got a lot of stuff to talk about for this game. So let's first start off with the story, so one thing we have to mention is that this is obviously connected to the previous game in the series, The Legend of Sword and Fairy 5, which itself is one we've covered already. And I guess I had there are some good parts of the story, like the whole there's probably some parts of the story are stronger than others. The Longming, oh my gosh, the Longming Lingbo plot was kind of, that was just weird. That was just super strange. The way it was set up was just not great. So I think one thing about this story is it really does have a ton of text. It's just interesting enough that you don't mind it as much as you could have, but on the other hand, it's at the same time it's almost too much. Sometimes you saw there's one thing they were just stalling. They're trying to make you remember Xia, even though you're I just played this game. I've seen all those scenes that didn't do anything. That's it just gets in the way of the story and all the talking. The game just suffers from just way too much dialogue, and sometimes it's just okay, get on with it. No, I mean trying to make it go a little bit fast. Oh, so yeah, I'll talk about the 6th game after I finish here, and the plans for that, but I'll save that for later. I also think that the whole way of I guess at first Jiang Cheng was I guess the writing was strong when it was involved with Jiang Cheng, or Jiang Shili eventually as he became known as, but before the 5 years it was totally fine. It was everything, his story made a lot of sense, and then why he made the cult, that made a lot of sense. It was okay, I see why you did this, cool. But then I guess they're well, we have to connect this character to the character that will be in Legend of Sword and Fairy 5. So rah, 5 years, time skip, and we made him an entirely different character that betrayed all his principles. I'm oh, okay, sure, I suppose we would think. And it's kind of weird because we know the character as a certain way. He's not the guy that betrays his principles. That's what he's known for. That's why everyone likes him. He cares. But then he just turned his back on all his human friends. I'm just okay, well, that's kind of sucks. You're betraying the people who helped you early on. Okay, Jiang Shili, fine, whatever. And it's just ultra disappointing. Yeah, Loming's dumb decision. Yeah, they really struggled because Jiang Shili was just he only cared about demons, I guess. But it was sort of they made the transformation go against everything. And not to mention the way they had to do it was okay, we need to make sure that Jiang Chen never questions this one guy who's giving him all this information, and he's never suspects him once. And that just seems what, you thought Jiang Chen was born yesterday? He's not supposed to be naive. He's not supposed to be I'm just gonna believe whoever, and I'm I trust them unconditionally, even though I can't verify their information. I don't know. And I get that, okay, maybe he's playing on his emotion to yeah, you need to get your people to the demon realm. But I'm just kind of I don't know. It was just kind of weird. It's just how do I know you? Why do you know this? yeah, it never occurred to Jiang Shili to ask that question. Oh well. It was just kind of like, yeah, let's make Kumu very good at manipulating people. Okay. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't transitioned very well. That's just how I'm feeling. I'm still not very satisfied about how that ended up. The fight with Xia was like emotional, I suppose, and I guess they left it open-ended, so they're like, did they survive? But I mean, it seems like maybe they survived, because I know Gangzhan didn't survive, but everybody else, but it'd be entirely plausible that, okay, maybe they got injured, and like Xia and Jingxuan are like, you know what, I'm not gonna. Although it would seem kind of weird for Jingxuan to turn his back on his own family, but then again, maybe he was injured really badly, and then he had to come back. I don't know. It's kind of an open ending, ending, I suppose. Yeah. Right. He only knew for a few years. There's no proof that going to the isn't a trap. Yeah, it just didn't feel like it was well written. It's not tightly written. Like, that's the whole thing. It's just like, there's no proof that it isn't a trap. You would think he'd be skeptical of everything. Like, of all people, people he was not skeptical of were like the people like Tang Feng or Jie Luo or like Li Yan is what I call them by their regular names, not their titles. And like, trusting the guy that's the one you know the least, the most, which doesn't make sense with Jiang Cheng's personality. It's very weird. It doesn't feel like... It feels like... And I get that, oh, in real life people change, but I mean, like... The intermediate steps were not there to make it believable, and even then, it's sort of like... You had to make Jiang Cheng ultra dumb to make this work, and yeah... It didn't go well. It didn't sit well with me. I'm still not too satisfied with how the story went. So, I mean, it's fine, but it's burdened by a script that takes too long. It's also burdened by, like, having to make these connections to the previous game, and it's just like they sort of didn't think it through, or maybe like they were like, we need to make Jiang Cheng very noble to make his fall to grace better, but it's not done well. And yeah, I feel like this game stumbles a bit in the story. Honestly, I would have actually, like, you know, this, in spite of every, like, you know, like Legend of Sword Fairy 5 kind of had a bit of like, in the Chinese side, it had a bit of a reputation of like, oh, this game's not that great. But honestly, the story in 5 is probably more fun. I enjoyed that story more because it wasn't burdened by anything, and they could actually just do interesting things, and like you didn't have to worry about continuity, or like they are the source of truth, I guess. They're like, that story was made self-contained, so it moved faster, it had less dialogue, and like it was just more enjoyable for me personally. So like, as much as like I like that they're trying to make, oh, you get to know more people, you get to know what Jiang Shili was, I don't think that was done very well. And like, that's probably kind of a stain on the game story, to be honest. And like, there's some interesting parts, and like the part Xia's story and Jingxuan's story, like they were consistently like sad. The other three characters were written more consistently, and they're more endearing. And then like Jiang is sort of like, he's not evil, but now he's evil. He had to be evil because he became dumb and then became evil. It was like, yeah, it still bothers me to this point. So it's like, yeah, and then like, we need to make plot hole happen so that Long Ming would be stupid once, so then he would die. I'm like, okay, why would you do this? But okay. Yeah, it was very strange. Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that the characters exclusive to this game are better than like some of the characters that will not matter, or like that will be in the next game. So yeah, I have to say that it's not. I don't know if it's bad enough that I'm gonna hate it for the rest of my life or something, but like, it's just these nagging things that to like. Otherwise, it's entertaining, but yeah, it just feels like I don't know. It just took away some of the weight of what dumb things were happening. Like I felt, I don't know why, I felt that. I think I probably felt that the previous game did it better. It was faster. And I had a lot of impact. I'm like, oh! Because, like, things made sense. When things actually made sense. And things went fast, and we didn't have this stalling problem. It has a big stalling problem, so... Yeah, I think I've mentioned enough about the story at this point. Like, obviously, you can dissect every single moment of the game, but I think overall it's just... Yeah, they're just shackled to the continuity too much. And they have some awesome stuff, but then they can't tie it to the previous game well enough, and then that's kind of what happened. Alright, well, I'm repeating myself. Let's move on to graphics. Oh, Soft Star. What do I have to say? Like, I mean, well, are the designs in this game for the main characters better? I'd say so, but that's pretty much the only thing I can really say. What were some memorable moments besides the bad ones? Okay, if we go back to story, really, we'll just back up a little bit. Well, at least I will have to say I wasn't... Well, actually, I was expecting it. When we were like, let's go to the fairy room. Oh, gosh, we got a time skip out of that. I guess that was what I remember the most now. And, like... Excuse me. And I'll definitely remember the Corania a lot, too. Like, that was a lot of it. That was an interesting thing where like, it's one of the first locations outside of China that this game actually goes to. So this series as a whole. So that was actually pretty cool too. Most of the characters, I mean, basically the well-written characters are the exclusive ones, like Gangzhan or Changlan or Xia or Jingxuan. They're good. They're written consistently, as I was saying. So I actually really like them a lot. Like, they're definitely like, oh man, that'd be cool to hang out with these people. And like, they're really like endearing. Jiang Cheng, well, I've said enough about them. Gang Zhan's best. And Huang Fuzhuo is like, you see the moments of like, his youth is like, that's why he's such a bro later on. And we're like, he's still a nice guy even in this game too. So that's pretty. I'm glad they kept that consistent too. I mean, as a young man, he was a little more like he's definitely the guy that's like he's a very emotional, but like compared to how he is later in his life. But yeah, that was pretty cool too to see him. What do I have to say? And I guess it was kind of nice learning about how Li Yan and Jie were in their youth. So that's kind of nice. Right. Yeah. A lot of it is like he's just getting to know, learning about the ways of the world, and like he's more of a spectator early on, but like he definitely comes into his own later. I like how he turned out. I don't think he's bland now. I mean, like he has this quirks that are memorable. Like his book knowledge was very useful, and his and like he's like his naivete early on in the story, but then like now his like hot bloodedness much later. Like he's just like you can feel the emotion, and then you're just like you finally like you see him just develop his character. That was very cool too. Like wiping away like he's the first protagonist that is not a swordsman. He's a magician. So this game actually did some really interesting things too. The main character is not like a swordsman who's like, I like fighting. Because like every other one before him, like all the 6 protagonists before him were swordsmen. So it was a nice change to have someone who's not who's not a fighting machine, someone who has who was just he was a nerd, so to speak, a book nerd. So it's really cool. Right. Anything else about that? I mean, those are pretty much the characters I remember the most. And yeah, that's pretty much all I remember. I will say it is not. I will also quickly say it's not. This is not my favorite of the stories for the Sword and Fairy series as a whole. I don't quite think it reaches the heights of 1 and 4, and probably 3 is pretty cool too. Actually, I actually really kind of like 3 a lot too. It's just that the game was the game wasn't quite as good as the story, but it was still. And 4 has probably the best okay, I'm going to stop talking about 4, but I really liked 4. 4 had a good balance for the most part with story and gameplay. So 4's great. 1 has a really good story with bad gameplay. But anyway, I've talked about those enough as it is. But yeah, 5's is don't think the story's quite there. It's mostly good. There's some good parts, but it's not. I don't think it's perfectly written. There's a lot of those plot holes kind of hurt it a lot, to be honest. Anyway, so yeah, and I was saying I'm talking about graphics, or the 2D art's still great. They excel at 2D art. The 2D artists behind these games are amazing. Yeah. Yeah. 5.5 are the ones that are worth playing. I almost say I would play 5. I would rather play 5 than 5.5. They did improve. Okay, I'll talk about it later once we come to it. So, I at the same time, you're kind of right that 5.5 is better in some senses. So it's kind of hard for me. I feel like it's a toss-up. But I'll talk about it once we get to it. So graphic-wise, yeah, the 2D art's great. I don't have any problem. The menus are all very full of personality, and I do like that a lot about these games in general. But those 3D graphics, man, I gotta be honest. We have to measure it against the standards of the time it came out, which is 2013 or 12. Oh my goodness, this game, it's so dated. You can just tell, it was worse than some indie games at that point in time. So it was just a shame that a story with such grandeur that you want to see is limited to 2007-ish, 6-ish graphics. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it doesn't. It was not a good looking game. The animation is stiff. The models are stiff, and the expressions don't convey the story very well. So it's really just an ultra disappointment in terms of the standards that it should have hit. And I'm not even expecting Assassin's Creed. Well, at this point it was Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. Oh my gosh. And Black Flag would have been okay. That was not a realistic budget expectation, but anything before that is just it doesn't even compare to the Assassin's Creed 1. It's just, and that was 6 years earlier, 5 years earlier than this game. So it's just it was just ultra disappointing that this series continues to have the same problem of they just are so behind in tech, so they can't make the vision of the game appealing. So a lot of the Chinese reviews are not kind about the graphics, and to be honest, I cannot fault them for that, because honestly it's really this should not be how it looks like in 2012, 2013. We had better stuff than that. Even some Wii U games look better than this game. I'm serious. Mario is probably better looking than this game, and this is a game that runs on PCs. Come on. So yeah, it's kind of a disappointment. And there's other stuff that bothers me too, the lack of their clipping issues. So there is a big problem where the items cannot be seen until you get within a certain distance, so you cannot find the items which you need. Game's also plagued by dungeon issues where you cannot tell The dungeons are intricately designed. The art would be so good in a different engine, but it's complicated, the design, and sometimes you can't tell if you can walk over. It's the quintessential problems of the same things that have plagued the series for a long time. And it's kind of not fixed in this game, so I'm kind of... I know, I feel so negative. I'm like, I can't think of anything good. Like, some of the effects are cool, and like some of the battle stuff looks kind of neat, that they would look better in different graphics engine, but it still looks pretty neat. So that's all I can say. But yeah, a lot of locales just are like low poly, textures just don't look natural. It's just not a well-made... The graphics just aren't up to par with what it should be. And that's essentially the gist of it. And I think like the details also don't help in the navigating the dungeon. That was kind of a chore at certain points where you can't tell if you can walk over somewhere. And sometimes there's just these weird things that block you from walking over, so it feels very weird and odd. Like cracks in the floor that stop you from walking over it. So it's just like the same stuff that plagues previous games in the series is still in this game. It's like, come on, guys. Are you serious? You all gotta be prioritizing readability, easy ways to figure out where you're walking. Like, stuff that we should do better. And it's like, come on. Come on. I know, I feel I'm kicking the game some more, but you know. But yeah, so it's not great. And I'm just gonna ding it for that. I'm sorry. Can't let you get away with that. When Shadow Hearts is more ambitious in its time period. So you praise certain games and you gotta knock them down a peg. Anyway, so we'll talk about sound now. So for the most part, the sound's fine. I don't really have anything bad to say. I know, ironically, it's probably where the game excels better at. The sound effects weren't weird sounding, so that's good. The music's really nice, as always. There's some tracks that are better than others, but it's definitely like a nice... And there's some battle themes that are like so good. Really good music for this entry in the series. And like definitely like worth a listen. And of course we have this awesome theme song in the front. So wistful sounding. I know, just to set the mood of the game, this is like, all right, guys, prepare your tissues. It's gonna be a fun ride. I'm like, no, I don't want to prepare my tissues. So, the sound effects for the most part are fine. I can't remember anything that's too offensive. And like, generally, this is not really a sound game, so to speak. I mean, there's footsteps or like, and I like the little details where you walk on different terrain that has different footsteps. That's always nice. I think I also should really quickly mention that one thing though is I'm going to mention about the sound bugs in the game. From like, there was some sound bugs that prevent DLC. Mainly this game just suffers from bugs too. Not only is there bugs with some like there were bugs with my playthrough, but some of them were caused by my own graphics card, so I'm not faulting the game for that. But the worst part is the bugs about the sound. It's just like the fact that some of the DLC doesn't play voice clips correctly is just kind of like, what? Are you serious? Are you serious? You can't even get your DLC to work properly, and it's not been patched either. I'm using the latest patch, so on a different computer, this game does not play sound for side quests. It's what? So it's just like these bugs in the game that just continue to plague the series' later entries. I feel like 5 was a little buggy too, but this game is particularly buggy. And it's just like, come on, are you serious? Yeah, they really need to fix it. And I heard... Well, anyway, I'll talk about that once we get to it. But yeah, the sound's alright. Voice acting is good. Always good. The Chinese voice actors, they know what they're doing. They've got this. And some of them, the more intense scenes, you can definitely hear the emotion. So I hope you guys did enjoy that. That was very enjoyable to hear some of the more intense scenes get voice acted. So that was nice. I think everyone does a good job for the most part. I can't think of anything bad. I also appreciate that we got to hear Evil Xia to show the voice actress's range, other than her happy-go-lucky, like plucky girl voice, which she used for both Xia and her previous role early in the series, Ling Xia, who from 4. So that was nice. And saw a lot. He got to hear some of the voice actors too from playing different roles from their previous ones. Anything else I want to say? No, I think that's pretty much it. Alright, so now we're at the last... They're like the 4th category, which I always do, is gameplay. Oh boy, I have a lot to say about this. So, there's a lot of things that could possibly have killed us in this game. One is like, yeah, there's also the gameplay story ratio is completely wrong. Like, it's completely off. There's just way too many cutscenes. It's burdened by the script, and so it takes forever to get to a game. And so if you're not engaged, you're basically like, please let this go on. Please let me play the game. And then you just be frustrated. I think the dungeons are not so... There's a lot of boss designs that are just like... It feels like this game was just made to annoy the player at every single turn. For bosses in particular. Like, how many... Like, the first boss actually heals themselves. And that's the first boss. You're a new player, you might not have learned the strategy, you might not have ever played an RPG before, and you're gonna get owned. And it's like, or even, and that's normal. On normal, I guess maybe on easy it's like they don't heal, but it's like, what kind of boss design is this? This is supposed to be this easy, and there's so many bosses. It's just like, oh, you need certain items to beat them. Oh, you need to have to absolutely like, if Illusion Queen weren't here to like actually advise us on how to beat some of those bosses would have been horrible to play through, or we'd be dead, or you just have to grind. And it's just like so stupid. It's just like these, like, haha, gotcha, this boss can't be beaten the normal way. I'm like, why not? That's the point. We're supposed to be able to make our own strategies and have fun with it, but you can't even have fun with it. HP and damage dealt. Oh great, so they'll still have a healing boss. Even though it'd be easier because you could kill faster than you could heal, but it's just like so many random things. And then there's like the ones where you have to throw items you don't know. Great, you can't damage him, and they try to tell you what to do in the middle of the battle, so I guess I gotta give that to them. But it's just like, why make the bosses so complicated? Just give us some normal ones first to warm us up to the game. Then you can start tossing in like, hey, this boss has a special something, you need to deal with this. Instead of like just like throwing the player right into it. And it's like such bad design. There's like the dungeon design, some of them are just like, oh jeez. Like, it's hard to get through. The dungeon puzzles are okay. I'm glad they tried. I have to give them credit for trying to make dungeons not a slog of just going through a bunch of monsters and trying to find your way. But some of them were just like, the crossing, like the sliding puzzles, or like the stupid flame stuff that's like, and like the worst one I feel is the island dungeon, the one where you lost party members to get through it. That is the stupidest thing possible. Oh yeah, it always has a quirk. They're trying to be too creative. And like, I get it, you want to be creative, but sometimes you need to give like a pacing boss, and you can't just like expect every player to be an expert player right off the bat. That's just not reasonable. And like, you can't expect everyone to have played the previous game. Like, it just felt like they thought, oh, you played the previous game, you'll be fine. I'm like, no, not every one of us has played the previous game. But yeah, the island dungeon, that was the worstly designed dungeon. Like, seriously, who thinks of this? Why would you ever want to play in a dungeon where you don't have all your party members? You're ill-equipped, you could die, you game over 1 billion times, and it's just so frustrating for the players too. If they didn't save, then they're like, oh, I guess I'm dead. So it's like, such poor design, so many like odd design decisions, and it's just like, why? So the game kind of suffers from just weird design decisions. They did improve some things from the previous game, like the equipment system is better, easier to use. The seals are fine, I suppose. It's just like these nagging UI things where like you can't change your seals over instantly, which is really annoying. And you can't, right? And like it's just like a lot of these things just compound and make the gameplay not that fun. And like I really wish they had like thought about like, hey, you know, we shouldn't design a dungeon this way. Let's try to make it like reasonable. And it's like the quirk is like the worst part because you don't know, and then you're just like, oh, I guess I don't know. Or like, why is my attack not doing anything? Why did I get blown up after 20 minutes of trying to beat the boss? I'm just like, because they don't tell you anything, or they'll tell you too late. I guess like they do try to tell you, but I don't think it's done very well. They're like, wow, this boss is healing. And I had something else that I wanted to say. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, the dungeon design is like, the worst one is just like the random quirky dungeons too that don't play. They're annoying and frustrating. I still hate the island dungeon, by the way. And I guess the final boss is fine. It's just another like solo battle. I'm like, why? Why would you give us another solo battle? I'm tired of this. Let us just do it the normal way, guys. Like, you had it right in 5. You had it right in 4. Like, why? Like, what happens if I die? Does that mean, like, I'm screwed? And you know the worst part? That's a checkmate situation. You know why? Jingxuan isn't... If Jingxuan's not at the right level, then you're screwed. You're dead. What happens if I had been level 51? I'd be dead. So... It's like, it makes no sense. It's just... you can't even grind there, so you're basically checkmated. Like, if I was not smart enough to have multiple saves, which you should always, but you know, what if I had multiple saves? Oh, the party members do tell you what to do pretty early about. They do, but by that point it's like, oh, okay. What if you don't have the items you need to do the battle? I know. Or they try to, yeah. But I was just saying, like, with Jingxuan in the final battle, it's just like, oh goody, what if I were low level? I couldn't beat the demonized Xia, then I'm like, well, I guess I lost the game. I guess I gotta start over. It's just like, you don't even let him grind. It's just like, that's no good. That is no good. Yeah, you never want to be checkmated. That's why final bosses are usually like in a place where you can run back and forth between them. Unless you could run back and forth there. I actually don't know. Let me double check. But as far as I know, you cannot go back. Well, let's see. Let me load this save up. Since we're on the topic. Nope, see? No Nimbus Cloud. You can't run back without your... Nope. If you can't grind, you're dead. Oh, goody. Oh, hey, we got a random one this time. We're just back to the normal townspeople. But, yeah, so... Great. Great game. Great. Thanks, game. Thanks for checkmating us. That's wonderful. I mean, granted, it's not the hardest final boss battle. It just feels a little weird. So, I mean, you guys saw me beat it. It was fine. But I was also pretty high level 59. So it did definitely help a lot. Anything else I want to say? Nah, I think I've pretty much said all the stuff I needed about the gameplay. So, it's really mostly a negative. Some positives, but a lot of negatives too. Well, at least the monsters aren't too hard, so I guess that's one thing. You can grind if you want to. And the side quests will definitely help you grind too. Well, not help you grind, but it will help you, give you some valuable stuff to make your life easier. A lot of side quests though. Anyway, so after having said all that, what do I think about the game? So I guess I don't know why. I'm uncertain, to be honest. Like, I don't know whether I can recommend the game if you were looking for, if you're able to play the game, to read the language, but honestly, I guess you could play it. What do you think about the target combo they added? Well, I guess that's fun, I suppose. What do I think about... oh, yeah, they added a new target combo. That's true. It's fine. It's too fast, though. I guess it's so powerful they had to limit it, but... yeah, mouse clicks are weird. I wish they had done... I wish they had done keys. If keys would have been easier, because it's hard to tell sometimes. If you don't read it quickly enough, you can't tell which button to press. And it's like, mice are really hard to read, so I wish they had put it as keys. Keys would have made more sense to me. And like, that would make a lot of sense. And just make it a little faster to accommodate the fact that it's keys. Because mice is just like, oh my goodness. But I do like that they added it. It's kind of fun. Keys would have been better. And it's also when it's knowing... yeah, exactly. See... that's another thing. You can checkmate yourself, too. They could have checkmated you. They're like, haha, you need to be Jiang, one of the bosses? Oh, you can't level this character to make your life easier. So if you suck at target combo, you dead. I'm like, oh goody. See, another checkmate situation again. Yeah, these checkmate situations are terrible and annoying. So, and it just predicates itself on your, literally, like, you have to do it right or you're dead. And that's terrible. Or if you didn't have enough invisibly go, yep, exactly. A lot of like times they could checkmate you. And then you'll be like, I can't progress. Get good. But that's terrible. You don't want to, not in that situation when you put in so many hours. It's just so bad. So, yuck. I'm not too happy about that. Anything else I want to say? Well, anyway, so... yeah, just some really silly things to make things harder for you. Checkmate situations. Quite a few. So, do I recommend the game? Honestly, I mean... if you're new to the series, I probably wouldn't start with this one. You could definitely do the classic one if you want. If you're like, I need something more new, then maybe 4 is a good starting point. I think maybe you could play this before 5 and you'd be fine. Because they don't, like... because then by then you'll be like, oh, I can now understand why things are the way they are from 5.5. So that's actually kind of an interesting conundrum where you actually can play this prequel before the actual game. Instead of doing it the other way around, chronologically, like we did. So that could be kind of interesting. In terms of like... so, alright, I guess here's how I would do it. So, if you're an RPG person, I would say... thumbs up, rent. I mean, see how you feel about it. There's a lot of good in here, and maybe you get invested in the plot, but... I guess maybe you should give it a try and see how you feel. The random stuff that I talked about does impact the game later, so I don't know if you like the story enough. If you're not an RPG person, I would say thumbs down, red. Give it a try and see how you feel if you like RPGs. I don't know if this is a good one to start with, to be honest. And I guess if you're not interested in RPGs, there's probably too much story for you. Unless you're a visual novel person, then you're probably going to be annoyed at how much dialogue there is. So I probably wouldn't... I would say maybe thumbs down for you. There are other games that have better balance of gameplay and story, and this ain't it. This is not that game. There are other games in this series as well that would be better serving your time. Probably 4. Just go with 4 or 1. 1 or 4. 1 isn't as long, and 4 has a good balance of both, and that's a very fun. So, yeah. I guess... well, yeah, there you go. I guess that's pretty much it. I don't think I have any more to say about it. There's a lot more, like, we could discuss the plot some more, but, I mean, that's not as useful for the review, because, like, you guys just want to know whether or not it's worth your time playing, and I would say, kind of depends. It's worth it if you played the previous one, though. I will mention that. Kind of worth it. Kind of worth it. I guess. Yeah, if you don't mind plot holes. Haha. Anyway, so that's it for the review.